Hello. This is going to be a review on part 3 of Richard Taesch's books of Introduction to Music for the Blind Student. We have here a teaching guide and the answer key for the theory exams and for the exams and self-checks that are in this book. So first, we're going to go through the answer key. We're not going to go through like all the pages, but we're just going to kind of skim through them. So the table of contents is pretty self-explanatory. So you got part 1, you got part 1, theory exams, and then you got the different phases, and then part 2, theory exams, and the different phases, part 3, answers to self-tests, and the different things there. So that's all that's in here. The layout is pretty self-explanatory. You just have the answers. You have the problem number and then the answer. So that's how all of them are written out. Moving on. Part 3 deals with the teaching book, which is that book right there. And so this has all the answers for that. And this is just one big long blurb about introductory stuff about that. And then you have your part 1 section. So just to kind of see what we have here. We got Unit 1 self-tests, and that's on page 23. So the essential concepts in Lesson 1, location of middle C, 2, the C major scale and the octaves, and then solfege, and the 4th octave, and identification of scale steps, numbers, and solfege after middle C. Let's see. Above and below middle C. And then lesson 2 covers all of that. And then you've got 3 assignments for lesson 1. So these are assignments that can be utilized. Oh, actually, hold on. 3 assignments for lesson 1. I think, let me see. I think that's answer key, but I'm not sure. Yeah, it looks like it's an answer key. Yeah, so this I think is the answer key. So let's see. They said that was on 23. I'm gonna do a quick peek here. Where's my page numbers? Oh my gosh. That's 41, 19, 31, 19. My hand. 23. Found it. Okay. So let's take in number 7. I'm going to be in big trouble now. The interval of a sixth above re in the C scale. So the interval of a sixth above re is T. I'm just guessing. That was number 7. So let's see if that, and we're on page 23. lines up with this. Number 7, yes, it does say T or B. So these are the answers. So it looks like they give a lesson outline of key concepts, and then it gives section 2 here, gives you the actual answers for the exams in this book. So that's how that works. You kind of learn something new every day. And I'm just going to start skimming through this because this is a lot of text. It's just a lot of text. And now I'm going to knock out my pages in the back. So that is what that looks like. Promo. That's the last page. Basically, congratulations! You can now teach blind people how to read music in Braille. So that is the answer book. And like I said, for the theory exams, it just has the problem number and then the answer. So if you like switched up your answers or your theory exams and made them different, you're going to need to make your own answer key or just know the answers. So this section, this book, the first part goes through the materials taught in the parts 1 and 2 of the lesson book. This is like the teacher guide for that information. It gives tips and things about how to teach, different things. Let's see, I'm just writing here. We got rhythms, talking about rhythm dictation, melodic dictation, things like that. And it goes through pretty much all of the chapters or all of the lessons. So that kind of gives that. The other sections in here actually covers music outside of the lesson books. So this stuff here covers like orchestra forms, like band music, choir music. Well, choir isn't introduced here, but it's down here at the bottom. But it talks about different kinds of music for band. Then Unit 6-7 talks about choir and vocal music. Oh, and piano. It talks about it's got vocal and piano formats. So I don't know if that's vocal comma and or vocal and, like piano accompanying. I don't know. But it talks about that. Okay, down here, it does talk about exploring piano formats. So there's a little blurb about piano formats, and all this other stuff deals with vocal music and the troubles that go along with that because there are text. And then Unit 3 deals with, that's Unit 8. I can't read. Unit 8 deals with more or less music theory items like Roman numerals, music analysis, figured bass, ear training, that sort of stuff. And then here, Unit 9 talks about teaching music. Like, I don't know if there's like a certification or not. I don't think there are, but there might be. I don't know. But this talks about like it almost like an internship or something, Like if you were a teacher and you wanted to teach like music at schools and things like that, this would be kind of something that you could do to get that certification, or at least to get the knowledge for that. I don't think there's anything yet for that, but I think Mr. Taesch and other people at his company, I don't know, Dancing Dots or whatnot, they're really trying to find how to get teachers, how to certify teachers to teach Braille music. Because like blind people who are learning Braille literacy, the people that they learn literacy from, they don't always know, or they're not aware, or they're not comfortable with teaching the music code. So there needs to be either those teachers need to have a full list of things of how to teach it, so they're not so overwhelmed, or there needs to be teachers specifically for teaching the music code. Kind of like there's specific teachers that teach you math and science and history and writing. This is all front matter. I'm just going to pass through this. This is all just front matter here. So that's kind of what they're leaning on with this. And there's a little thing here about certification. So you could read that if you want. Here's contact information for teachers who are interested. Richard Taesch, Southern California Conservatory of Music, Braille Music Division, Headquarters, Braille Education Network for the Visually Impaired. This is the MENVI, and their website is menvi.org. That's menvi.org. So that's information if you're kind of curious about this teaching thing about doing Braille music. You could probably contact those guys and they could probably help you out with that. But I actually bought this book because it's just really interesting. Because I find this sort of stuff really, really fascinating. So this is section 1, or phase 1, unit 1, section A. And this is about teaching the rudiments of music. So we have all of this stuff, which actually corresponds with the lesson book. So with the first lesson, you would read through this unit or this chapter to get acquainted with that information. And then when you move on to lesson 2 in the student book, you would move on to intervals in this book. Read that beforehand, get an understanding of what you're doing, and then you'll be a little bit on top of things with your above your student. So they do have, let's see, I'm just kind of skimming through here. I'm not exactly sure what all this is, but it must be really, really important. Otherwise it wouldn't be in the book. But chapter 1 here looks like it's got lessons, and then it tells you what page in the student book that's in, so that's nice. And then it's got some information. And these are some of the things that can be used for teaching and understanding and things like that. So like the student should be introduced to the 4th octave. They should be able to locate where middle C is on a piano keyboard, preferably a full grand, or not a full grand, but a full 88 keys if they have it. Hang out in the music room. There's probably a piano in there. And then being knowing what the scale is and octaves, being able to sing solfege, and then being able to identify scale step numbers above and below middle C. So again, this is like, there's a section that I was looking at in that book, and I says, this is hardcore ear training. And that's kind of what that is. So teacher would play middle C and then play a note above, and the student would have to identify what that note is. Teacher would play middle C, they'd play a note below, and then again the student would have to tell the teacher what that is. And the student wouldn't be allowed to look at the keyboard. Like, if they can see, they would have to turn their back to the teacher so they're not looking at the keyboard. Which usually you don't want to turn your back to the teacher. You can only do that if your teacher tells you to do that. So these are questions for the teacher, but they could also be used for the student in some points. It's kind of interesting because somewhere in here it says don't look at the answers, but because he's got the questions and the answers right next to each other, that's kind of funny. But these questions can be utilized for the student as well. Let's see here. We're going to look at number 6 says, there must be 8 octaves as well. True or false? Okay, so this is going off of this one here. We got how many C's are there on the piano? The answer is 8. And then the question is, well, if there's 8 C's on a piano, there must be 8 octaves. And the question is false. No, there are only 7 full octaves. And it goes on and explains the little missing pieces and things like that. The incomplete octaves. So that could be, that could be used for students. And then these are questions for assignments. Let's see here. Looking at number 2, list from memory all the lesson titles in phase 1. I don't think the student needs to know that, but I guess that potentially could work. But yeah, and then chapter 2 deals with lesson 2, so then you're dealing with the intervals, and these are the concepts that are taught, and then you have questions and answers. Kind of reminds me of Luther's Catechism. And then more reading. Oh, this is more questions and answers. And these here are questions for review. What is an octave? Why are there only 7 notes in an octave? These could be used for student review. They give ideas for things to do. Different chapters have different things. Here, I think he's talking about, let me see. This is just talking about why Braille is written why the word Braille is written a certain way. I think it was before the switch over to the, I don't know what the new Braille code or whatever. They kind of switched around how the word Braille used to be written out. Which is, I kind of don't like it because I'm used to capitalizing the word Braille. But yeah, so this is dealing with more questions and answers. This whole section is pretty much similar format, covering all this information. And again, this is mainly for teachers. But these can most likely be used for students as well. I'm trying to find the end of a chapter, or not the end of a chapter, but the end of a unit. I don't know if there's a quiz or whatever at the end. So I'm going to skim through these until... Oh, here, let's see what we have here. Okay, so this is a Unit 1 self-test. So they do have... The self-test is at the end of Unit 1, which is in that other book that I was showing you. This is the question we looked at. So they do have the self-test at the end of Unit 1, and students could probably do that too. So then the rest of this book covers that information for reading. Oh gosh, what is it? For doing working through the lesson book. I'm trying to find where the information on the instruments are. Let's see. Yeah, this stuff is not... There's no titles or anything. Okay, here. What do we have here? Chapter 1, Lesson 8, continuation of Phase 3. Okay, so this is more just general stuff. I gotta look for this. Well, my cat just woke up, so I have to get her and feed her real quick. This is what I was looking for. So after I get the cat fed, I will be back. All right, the cat is fed. Okay, so this is dealing with orchestra and band. And it looks like it deals with like how music is laid out, things like that. Maybe some like minor things. Basic percussion parts. So then it goes into all of the stuff you want to know about band and orchestra teaching music. So this stuff goes off of after the student can read music, then they start learning symbols that are specific to their instrument. Like here, we got bow signs for violin. We have an up bow and then a down bow. This appears as the letter V. Okay, yeah, I always get this confused. So you got the up bow is that one, and then that's the down bow. I don't know how that is, but there's... I can never get those things straight in my head. So that's dealing with strings, markings. They talk about like dynamics. It looks how dynamics are placed in music. Of course, Braille music, everything's like written in its own way. And then a couple endings, Braille signs. So then we're going to move on to the choir section, if I can find it. Words and choir music. Well, here's in the middle of it. Words and choir music. So this is dealing with writing out music. This looks like a chord sheet, and this is how the chord sheet would be written out in Braille, apparently. So that's how that is done. And then it looks like, let's see. Looks like you've got chords, words. No. That's a note. Let's see. This looks like it could be, I don't know. I'd have to look at this and see what this stuff is, because this is really strange. To me, at least. Then Unit 8. What does Unit 8 cover? Intervals, chords, harmonic analysis. So this one deals with the music theory aspect. If I'm not mistaken. So there's a lot of reading in here. I'm thinking if this book was put into Braille, it would be like 10 volumes. I kid you not. So is this, okay, so we don't have, let's see, treble clef, bass clef. So I don't see any Braille, well, I see Braille, but I don't see print music, so I'm not exactly sure how that lines up, what that's referring to. So here, this would be, where did it go? I'm just gonna zoom in on this. So this here, this 4-2, this is called, oh, that's a piano fingering. Never mind. I don't know if that's piano fingering or if it's figured bass. Oh no, I don't know. It could be piano fingering. By the looks of it, it might be piano fingering. I thought it was like figured bass. Never mind. But again, I'm sure these items, stuff in here, could be used for student work. So this looks like it might be like figured bass, not figured bass, but like chord progressions and writing melodies on top of it. But I honestly, I'm not sure. This looks like my theory assignments in university. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here. Let's see what chapter this is. Introduction to analysis formats. So I'm not sure what these are, but they're intervals for sure. And this stuff looks like more intervals. And this is all stuff like you learn in university. Well, it's more like you should have learned it, but because a lot of people don't have very good music lessons, they kind of have to teach it to you in rudimentary music courses. But here, like, you have, this is like interval identification. So looking at the music and being able to identify, this is a perfect fifth, this is a major third, that's an augmented fourth. This is a, augmented fifth. This is a minor 7. That's a perfect octave. Being able to just recognize the stuff, that's a diminished 5. Being able to recognize the stuff, that's what you have to do. Now, I'm looking at this in print. I can do that. In Braille, because I don't know the code, I would have to actually think about this. I mean, I'd have to really think about it. And it also helps that all these are built on the key of C. So you gotta love that. University, it wasn't quite that easy. So they do touch on that. And this stuff, like, if you have a high school student, yeah, this is harmonic analysis. You have a bass part and a soprano part. And then you have these Roman numerals on the bottom. And you have to write out the inner voices using these Roman numerals and a whole bunch of rules that some guy by the name of Fuchs, F-U-X, wrote. I think his name is Fuchs. He wrote like some big treatise or something about harmonic writing and why you can't write parallel fifths and why you can't write perfect octaves and why you can't do voice crossings and all this other stuff. Yeah, look that up on the internet. And here's some more stuff where they give you more analysis and you have to write it out. You have to write out the alto and the soprano voice. I guess that's what it looks like in Braille. So this section will be really good if you have a student that's going to university. At least so they can get an idea of how the stuff is actually written out. Now here, it looks like they have the voices written out in, I guess, like each voice part on its own line of Braille, so that's interesting. This is the first time I'm looking at this, so this is I'm finding this extremely fascinating. So, yeah. I think I'm going to read the theory section because this is just really cool. Oh, these are fun when you have a bass line and then you have figured bass and you have to improvise or write something on top of that. But like if you're sighted and you can see this, that's no problem. But if you can't see this, then you can't do it. It's kind of weird, but yeah. Let's see. Questions. Questions needing part certification. Print, sign, clarification. I can't read. I think I'm in the questions section or something. I know there's a whole bunch of questions in there. You want to know what an orchestra score looks like in Braille? There you go. Have fun conducting off that. Hold on. I gotta feel the second violin part. I can't find the second violin part. Oh my gosh. I don't know. Are there blind conductors? Obviously, I mean, if you're a blind conductor, you obviously know how to read your way around Braille music. There may not even be a second violin part in here. Flute, oboe, wind. Oh, there is a second violin part. Usually second violins are playing the same as the first, but once in a while when they need a split, that's what they're there for. Kind of like second sopranos. They just sing the same notes as the first sopranos, except when they need a split. Composer decides, oh, I'm just gonna split sopranos. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure what all this stuff is, but I'm just skipping ahead big chunks of pages, so I have no clue where I'm at. Let's see, this says Unit 3, Phase 3. These must be questions and concepts for review. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but it looks like, I don't know, it's just more questions and concepts. I would say Richard Taesch did put a lot of time into writing this book. It's kind of cool. I'm curious. Oh, I think I found it. Appendix 3. Index of Braille signs. Used in parts 1, 2, and 3, and then there's a general index. So we're going to go through the Braille signs, and it shows all the Braille signs from the various phases. Ooh. And it starts on 390 in this book. So these are like all the Braille signs that are covered. So you could like drill students on reading, spelling as far as dot numbers, writing. Okay. Write a mezzo soprano. Write a mezzo piano. I can't read. Mezzo forte. Write a mezzo forte. Write crescendo. Write the termination of a crescendo. So on and so forth. If a student is going into composition, they are going to need to know how to write these signs. And then these are Braille signs that are not taught in the lesson book, but they are used. Okay, so here you got right hand symbol, left hand symbol. That was covered in the piano course. But the piano course is not in a way like linked up to this, so that's kind of weird. I'm not exactly sure why that is. 4 note groupings, 6, 7 note grouping, up, down, up bow, down bow. Braille breath mark. Yeah, they've got all kinds of signs in here. Wait, what did that say? Oh, note repetition in 30-second notes. So if you have a bunch of notes that are repeated, you have a sign to, like, so you don't have to write all those out. Intervals are taught in this book. These are all your intervals. Part bar line. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but it's there. So backward repeat, forward repeat, and then your glossary. So I'm kind of curious why they don't introduce like a triplet in here. Or I didn't see, there's a special sign that's used for piano music. It's called in accord. If you've got one thing happening and then you've got another part happening on the same hand, that would be what that's used for. I could have just passed it up too. But, yep. And that is that's the last page. And then you got your back cover. So that is kind of a review / walkthrough of teaching teachers how to teach. And the answer key that goes with answers that students should not be looking at. So if, oh my gosh, I gotta think, where do I want to take you guys next? I'll just let YouTube do its thing. Let me just look and see here. Where do I want to? I'm looking at my notes because I'm really bad at this. Oh yeah, that's right. I was gonna do the rhythm thing. Okay, so I'm gonna put the rhythm thing. Let's see. I'm gonna put it here again, and then I'm gonna let YouTube pick here, and again subscription wherever that is. So, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna do rhythm next. I'm gonna show you rhythm, and then we're gonna do, if you want to do like whatever YouTube shows up, watch that one. All right, talk to you later.